全力歯ぎしりレッツゴーギリギリ歯ぎしりレッツフライ僕の気持ちは歯がゆい全力歯ぎしりレッツゴー全力歯ぎしりレッツゴーギリギリ歯ぎしりレッツフライ歯並びガガガ歯ぎしり
Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast, the official podcast of FilmPulse.net. This is episode number 141. My name is Adam Patterson. With me today, we have Kevin Rakestraw. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing pretty good.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We're recording this on Monday. Today is Kevin's birthday.
Correct.
So follow him on Twitter, at FilmPulseKevin. Wish him a happy birthday.
Don't do that.
Well, this will be coming out later anyway. This will probably be coming out tomorrow, so it won't even be your birthday anymore. So don't wish Kevin happy birthday. So this week on the show, we'll be doing 3 fantastic reviews. We have Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, we have Birdman, and we have Why Don't You Play in Hell? That's on demand right now, so you can check that out. The other 2 are playing in theaters. We'll also be going over this week's movie predictions, new on video on demand, and DVD and Blu-ray releases. Instead of doing what we've been watching since we have 3 movies this week, I figured we could start off by going over a couple news bits, because there's some big news that came out within the last week. Most notably, the title for the next Star Wars film, The Force Awakens. So the official title is Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Did fans like that?
I'm not really sure, honestly. Like, it's funny. The thing that I've seen the most on Twitter is not people saying, "Oh, that's a bad title" or whatever, but people criticizing people that criticize the title. And yet, I haven't seen anybody actually criticizing the title, so I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
Personally,
You know what?
I think the title's fine.
I could care less about a subtitle. You know what I mean? Like, does it really affect the movie that much?
Well, no, I don't think so.
I
don't think it affects the title.
I don't understand why people get so up in arms about it. Like,
I don't know if people are, though.
What's
That's
the
the thing.
matter what the subtitle is? The only thing that matters is if the film's any good.
I agree.
Who gives a
I
shit what
completely
they
agree.
call it? They could just call it Wars of Stars 17. Who gives a shit?
But it's interesting that that's what a lot of people are saying on Twitter. But what I'm wondering is, are people actually analyzing this title and
The only thing
freaking out about it? I don't know that people are.
The only thing that I saw when it first broke is, I don't know who said it, but someone was like, a better title would have been literally anything else. And then people just went haywire with like coming up with names for it, which seems like that's really what they wanted to do, just to showcase how witty they can be with their subtitles.
Mhm.
Everything's an opportunity now.
Yeah.
Let me
to come up with the most snarky comments
Yeah.
regarding it.
Exactly.
I think The Force Awakens is fine. I mean, I don't think it gives away anything with the movie, but maybe when we actually see the movie, it'll make more sense. And it's certainly better than Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Well, I mean, like, what were the originals called? Wasn't one like A New Hope?
A New Hope,
That
Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and what was the Revenge of the Sith or something?
Yeah.
Episode 3.
A New Hope is kind of stupid.
I mean, I think it fits in with the other ones. Phantom Menace? Come on. I think it's better than that.
What?
So, at any rate, there we go. We have a new title, an official title. Interestingly, they dropped the episode 7 out of it, so it's not called Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It's, they dropped that, so I don't know if that's trying to keep in with this new grand scheme that they have for it, because I think that they're trying to make it so that it's more like the Marvel movies, where there's the actual specific episodes and then there's these side movies that they're going to be coming out with.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, I'm still pretty excited for it, just based on the fact that the cast is good. They're using a lot of practical effects. It's shot on film. I think J.J. Abrams is more than competent to handle the series. So I think it's going to be a winner.
The only thing I'm worried about is the lens flare. Let's cool it on the lens flare.
We'll see.
I
We'll
mean,
see what happens with that.
he doesn't even have to get rid of it. I'm just saying dial it back by like 50%, please. That's it. That's all I'm asking.
What was I guess Star Trek 2 was the last. Was that the last one he did? And I feel like he dialed it back a little bit on that one.
No, there was a good bit.
Oh no, there was a good bit. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like maybe he dialed it back a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. He might be a little bit more restrained because it's Star Wars, and even though Star Trek is a popular franchise, I think Star Wars is still beats it out as far as popularity.
You just started a fight.
Oh, whatever. Oh, whatever. Whatever. Also, another big story: Toy Story 2. Or yeah, Toy Story 2. I was looking at a picture.
They're finally making a sequel to Toy Story.
They're finally making the sequel to Toy Story. No, Toy Story 4 has been announced.
What's the subtitle for that one? Is there a subtitle for that one?
I think it's called like, I don't know. I was trying to come up with a clever Disney Toy Story tie-in subtitle, but can't come up with one. Woody's Revenge. There we go. Toy Story 4, Woody's Revenge has been announced. A lot of people not excited about this one. There have been a lot of comments on this.
I'm not. I thought the third one ended so perfectly.
Well, yeah, and that's what everybody's saying. I mean, the third one wrapped everything up so nicely. You know, the first one, it was his toys. What's the kid's name? Andy.
Yeah.
Andy's toys, and then in the second one, it was, I think the sister was involved in that one, and then the third one, he was going off to college and growing out of the toys and all that, and it just felt like such a great conclusion to everything.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that it's going to be good. I'm sure that they're going to go into a really cool direction with it, but at the same time, I just can't. I'm not on board with it.
I want more original things.
I love Pixar, and I want them to come out with more original IPs, you know?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
This what's the new one? I can't remember the new one. Inside Out? Is that the name of it?
I think so. Yeah.
You know, that's an original IP, and it looks fine. I'm not terribly excited for it based on the premise, but I'm sure it'll be good. But I remember there was a time back before Disney owned Pixar, they said flat out, we will never do a sequel. I don't know if you remember that. They said, we will never do a sequel.
And now...
And now we have Finding Nemo 2 coming out.
Well, it's funny,
Incredibles 2.
John Lasseter he's made Toy Story 2, Cars 2, he's making Cars 3, he's making Toy Story 4. I mean, my goodness.
Let's cool it. I mean, maybe they're just running out of ideas. I don't know.
Ugh.
Tarantino added Channing Tatum and Damian Bashir to the Hateful Eight. What do you think about that?
Sure.
I think it'll be interesting.
I don't know. It's hard for me to like comment on these things because in all honesty, I don't care. I don't fucking care. I just want to see
about movie news.
I just want to see the movie. That's all I care about is the end product. I want to watch the movie.
But I think you could at least comment on.
No, I mean like
casting news, right?
No, that like
Channing Tatum in a Tarantino movie. What do you think about that?
Cool.
Cool idea.
Sure.
Not cool. You excited for it?
I'm indifferent until I see it. Until I actually see what Channing Tatum is doing, then I will comment. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's just I don't understand how like people have long drawn out discussions about this stuff because ultimately all it comes down to is just a bunch of bullshit speculation of what's he going to play? Is it going to be a comedic role? Is he going to be a badass? Is he going to be a villain? Who knows? You don't know until the movie comes out.
Normally when I post these news items on the site, I don't do too much of that in my news posts. I know a lot of other sites do, and they kind of really get into the analysis of it, but usually I pretty much just post things very matter-of-factly.
And I mean, if, you know, for you and maybe other people that like to hear casting news and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with
Well,
it. It's just for me, I don't really have that much to say. I'm just being honest. I don't really have anything to add to it.
well, let me just clarify by saying I'm not somebody who hangs over every kind of casting news announcement. The only time I ever post stuff on the site that's regarding casting is when it's been confirmed. None of this, oh, they're circling blah 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 to be in blah blah blah. That never interests me. I'm only even mildly interested when somebody actually signs on
I would
for a role. And second, normally I only post things regarding movies that I'm actually looking forward to. So if there have been 2 casting announcements for The Hateful Eight, yes, I will. I'm interested in that.
I would like to do more just completely made up casting. Like just take it like another level and just start saying, such and such is this close to being.
Well, the funny thing is that we might as well, because it seems like there's so many of these other sites that they just do whatever. They heard it from somebody who
So and
is friends with so and so's agent or
so and so
whatever.
is in talks to play the next whatever superhero movie's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Doctor Strange casting. I guarantee I've read like 15, 20 articles that said, "Oh, so and so is in talks to play Doctor Strange."
And see that to me that's part of it. Like I don't care until I actually see him in that movie on the screen. Then I can be like, oh yeah, Channing Tatum. Because I mean, Tatum still might back out. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it just happened recently. Christian Bale was going to be Steve Jobs in the Aaron Sorkin biopic,
Yeah.
and he backed out last minute. So now they're back to square one on that one. So yeah, I mean that stuff can change. I mean, until it's actually shooting, stuff can change. And I mean, there've been almost every Tarantino movie that's come out, there've been last
yeah.
minute changes.
That's why I'm just gonna start saying that I'm attached to all these films as well. I'm actually in talks
need
to be in the Hateful Eight.
You need to start publishing articles on the site by Kevin Rakestraw that says Kevin Rakestraw in talks. It's written by you.
I'm just gonna start picking random people off of Twitter and attaching them to films.
But you don't even know their name. You just write at whatever.
That way, when they check, they're like, "Holy shit, I might be in that movie." And they get all excited, but it doesn't work out.
The only other thing I wanted to talk about, and I know you probably will have an opinion about this, is too many cooks. Too many cooks.
Too many cooks. Too many cooks.
So
Boy,
this was just a little kind of a throwaway thing that Adult Swim aired this last week at 4 a.m. It was supposed to be during an infomercial block, and they just put it out there. And I'm sure that most of you listening have seen this by now, because it kind of blew up the day after.
it took over the world.
The day after it aired, this thing just went viral like crazy. And I gotta say, first of all, I'm surprised, because this isn't the type of thing that normally does go viral, just because it's so weird and out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad it did, because when I first saw this, I was like, this is brilliant. I love it. I love everything about this. Essentially, if you're not familiar, it's just an 11-minute long short, I guess, where it's kind of making fun of intros of 80s TV shows.
And 90s. Don't forget the 90s.
And 90s. I mean, it kind of parodies Roseanne and Family Matters and all of those. G.I. Joe's in there, too. There's an animated sequence. But it gets so nightmarish and dark by the end that you're just like, what? And I love it because it's so layered, and it's the type of video that you watch over and over again. And I think maybe that's why it went viral, because so many people were rewatching it to find all the little hidden Easter eggs throughout.
I think that's the majority of it.
Because I watched it 3 times just to see if I could spot anything new. And It's just amazing.
There's a lot of stuff going on in there, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. My favorite was Smarf.
Smarf.
I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Smarf. I'm really happy that Smarf popped up. And then it takes a really dark turn.
Yeah.
Shit
Because
gets shit
it
gets
gets very
insane.
dark.
Gets insane and disgusting. And then it just gets completely rebooted and it turns into like a sci-fi TV show.
It's so disjointed and random. It was
And then it
ridiculous. I
all
loved it.
comes back together again.
Yep.
Oh man.
It's great. Check it out if you haven't. And I don't know the backstory behind this, really. I know it was created by the guys that did Squidbillies, I think. But there's not too much else I know about it.
The only thing that you have to know is that it's fantastic. It's
Hmm.
the only thing that really matters.
Yep.
And
I
I
agree.
want to see more of that.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that too. I don't know what else they would do, but I want more of it. I do like how they actually start the show, Too Many Cooks, at the very end, and then play for like a split second, and then play the credits. I love that.
Too many cooks.
Yep. All right, you ready to get into some reviews?
Oh yeah, just imagine the number of people that had that song stuck in their head this weekend.
I know I had it stuck in my head all weekend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was a very, very interesting discussion that was born out of watching it because I made my wife watch it and she was confused beyond belief. So it turned into this whole conversation of me trying to explain too many cooks. It was something else. It was fun.
Yeah. My girlfriend also didn't really grasp it. She was just like, I don't get it. And I was like, this is an internet sensation. Everybody's watching this. Like everybody's talking about this. And she's like, I don't why? Why? I was like, because it's amazing. And she's like, I don't get it. Why?
Uh,
All right, let's go ahead and get into our first review. Now, will also say there's another song that got stuck in my head, and we'll get to that later when we talk about Why Don't You Play in Hell? Because it was Too Many Cooks, and then after I saw Why Don't You Play in Hell, that song was stuck in my head. So let's start with Birdman, then we'll do Why Don't You Play in Hell, and then we'll end it with Interstellar, because I want to do a spoiler section for Interstellar.
okay.
So
All right.
we'll do that. I don't think we need to do spoiler sections for the other two, but we'll see how it plays out. So Birdman got a wider release this week. It's been out for a couple weeks now, but we just had the opportunity to see it. It is directed by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu. Probably
Correct. No, I think you're actually right.
okay.
Feels
The
feels
synopsis
weird, doesn't it?
says, yeah, it's the guy that did Amores Perros and Babel and 21 Grams. None of which I'm a huge fan of. I remember liking Amores Perros a whole lot back when that came out.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in ages though.
Yeah, same
I
here.
liked 21 grams.
I
I
liked
liked
it.
Beautiful. The other ones,
Oh yeah,
I
he did.
didn't-
He did Beautiful too.
The other one, like Babel. Oh boy, I
Yeah.
wasn't a fan of that one.
I just got kind of tired of the multiple storyline
Yes, exactly.
concept. And
Which
this one in Birdman kind of has multiple storylines in a way, but
they're not.
he does it in a very
Yeah,
more.
They're not structured
they're all
the same as those
yeah,
movies.
right. So the synopsis for this says a washed-up actor who once played an iconic superhero must overcome his ego and family trouble as he mounts a Broadway play in a bid to reclaim his past glory. Now, I will say, I'll start it off and say that I loved Birdman.
Oh, you look.
I had a feeling I was gonna like it. I didn't know the whole no cuts thing, the extremely long takes. Didn't know about that until well after I was already excited for it.
Yeah.
But I did go into it knowing that it was shot that way, and I thought it was fantastic. The performances were outstanding. Michael Keaton, I thought, was great in this. I mean, to me, it's like this. I hope that this is a return for him. I want to see him. I always liked him, and I hope that this means that he'll be in a lot more stuff because I think he was great. It's a very odd movie. I mean, it all takes place mostly in this theater on Broadway where he's trying to mount his comeback by doing this play, and everything happens. It's a very frantic and frenetic movie. There's a lot going on all the time. I mean, you're going down these hallways, and there's all these separate plot lines with the other actors, and Zach Galifianakis, who plays the producer slash lawyer, and we also have Naomi Watts, Emma Stone, Edward Norton, who's great in it as well. And just as a starting off point, I will say that I thought it was fantastic. So, Kevin, let's start it off. What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I actually found the single take cinematography from Lubeski to be a bit unnecessary. I
disagree
don't
with
think it
that.
added anything to the movie. I didn't.
I think that it added to the chaotic nature of the behind the scenes stuff. It made everything feel more stressful to me.
I could see that. I could see that. It still bothers me with his blended one takes.
Well, I mean, that's just how you had to do it.
I know. It still bothers me.
Because especially with how they showed the passage of time in this too, because I was actually thinking that this all took place in real time, but it doesn't.
No.
So there had to be some trickery there.
I know. Which is my problem with Lubeski doing single takes, is he never does single takes. He always blends them, which to me, I just wonder why do you keep trying to do it then? If you can't do it, stop blending it.
They were still very long though.
No, yeah,
I mean,
they still were. And I did enjoy that there were probably like a handful of instances where you could tell the actors kind of tripped over their lines a little bit.
Oh yeah, they kept the flubs in there,
Which I like.
And
I wish more
yeah.
movies would do that.
I do too, because it makes everything feel more natural.
Exactly. And we did,
There's-
these movies, and which is kind of interesting because this movie's sort of discussing that whole concept when it comes to art, like authenticity and realism and everything. And it's kind of surprising that more films don't do that because it does add another layer of realism to it, that they're
Yeah.
flubbing lines.
I think that they should do that. And we've talked about this before. I think anytime in movies where they have actors talking over one another or flubbing lines or saying or just doing anything like that feels more natural, more real. I mean, how many movies have you ever seen, and this doesn't do it, but I'm just saying, how many movies have you ever seen where somebody's having a conversation and they just sneeze or cough, and then continue talking? You never see that kind of stuff. And I think that if more movies added little things like that, it'd make everything feel more real.
I would like to see actors fake sneeze. I think that's a whole nother dimension right there. I want to see what type of actors can like sell a sneeze.
I'll tell you who can do it.
Who?
Tom Hanks in The Burbs, when he eats the sardine and pretzel thing in the Klopex house and he starts sneezing uncontrollably.
Which I don't know if anyone sold The Burbs that way before, but with you saying that, I instantly want to watch that. Which
It's on Netflix
I was
now,
just gonna
too.
say, I served that up to you. You just sold The Burbs to me again, even though I've seen it like 5 times. I immediately have to watch it now to see that scene.
The sneezing scene, it's hilarious.
Okay, back to Birdman. Getting a bit off track here. I mean, the cinematography I thought it was okay. I thought it was serviceable. It didn't get me all excited like it seems to have gotten everyone else jazzed up
It
about.
got me, yeah. It got me
The
jazzed.
thing that got me jazzed was the drum score from Antonio Sanchez.
Oh my god. And the incorporation of it where we would
You would occasionally just
sometimes you would just see him
Just pop
playing
up.
the drums. Loved that. Oh my god. The drum score was nearly constant through almost the whole movie.
that's what
And-
I loved about it. It just added this energy
Yeah.
to a film that is mostly just people walking around, essentially
Yeah.
just walking from one conversation to another. And there's actually large chunks of the movie where it's just Michael Keaton and the camera following Keaton until
Yeah.
he comes to his next conversation.
Yep.
But
Just these kind of like reverse tracking shots of
which,
Michael Keaton walking.
yeah, to me, that's the thing. Like, if the drum score wasn't there and say those just kind of played out in silence, I would have been irritated beyond belief with this movie because there's just so much wasted time. But with that drum score in there, I'm okay with it.
And again, that also aids to the frantic pace of the movie where you always feel like you're on a time crunch. You always feel like there's not enough time to get the shit done that they need to get done in preparation for this play. And the drum score just adds to that.
To me, that was the number one aspect of this movie. I just absolutely loved the drum score. Loved it. It was my favorite part.
Now, what did you think of the fantastical elements? The more the telekinesis and the him kind of having this inner monologue with himself as Birdman and all that stuff.
I thought it worked. I thought it worked pretty well. I don't think they went overboard with it, which is something that I was kind of worried about, especially considering that the movie starts off with him levitating.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried that it was going to be nonstop, but I did love how it sort of kind of showcases his delusions of grandeur, that he thinks that he has these powers because he's so fucking special, but he's not. And he kind of comes to that realization towards the end of the movie because he's so caught up in his his past glory days as Birdman, which I think is hilarious in and of itself. He was his superhero was a bird.
Well, I mean, and also the obvious thing is that this is a very it's very interesting that Michael Keaton is in this role just because of his past as playing Batman, and just like there was that one scene in the bar where the kid was like, who is this guy? And the mom says, oh, he used to be Birdman.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know that in Michael Keaton's life, there's probably been an instance where someone says he used to be Batman.
Yes.
And it kind of makes you feel bad. Like, just, man, what a sad existence. But, and then there was also a couple other
Well, yeah, and I mean,
things.
I'm pretty sure I would venture a guess that was Keaton's casting is no accident because
Oh,
there's
I'm
a
sure-
lot of
yeah.
talk about superheroes and towards the beginning of the film, where they're
Right.
talking about all the actors, and it is kind of funny to see how many people are wrapped up in superhero movies now.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that they explore in that, especially at the beginning when he's watching the TV and they're talking to Robert Downey Jr. and all of that stuff and talking about the Avengers and this and that. So, yeah, I'm sure that that's all very intentional. Especially there's a part where he says that he didn't want to do Birdman 4, and the last one was in 1992. And that's when Batman Returns came out, and he didn't want to do the third Batman movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure that it's all very intentional. And, all that stuff worked for me. Although, when I was watching the movie, I wasn't really thinking about it. I didn't feel like I was watching Michael Keaton. I felt like I was watching Riggin, his character.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like this was that meta where it detracted from the fictional story that was taking place on screen.
Yeah. I thought he did an excellent job. As everyone else, I mean, no one really wowed me outside of Galifianakis. I thought him and Keaton, I thought were the best.
I thought Zach Galifianakis was fine. He didn't
I just
really floor me. It was definitely not a typical role for Zach Galifianakis. He played a more straight role, but he was still very funny in it.
I think I love most of his lines had me rolling.
Yeah. One of the things that I was kind of, I guess, taken aback a little bit was how much I actually felt for the character of Riggin. Because just judging by the trailers and knowing what this movie's about, I kind of felt like I was not going to like the character too much. But I felt so bad for the guy because he didn't seem like that bad of a person. It was just this struggle for relevance in this world. And I think that the scene where Emma Stone really chews him out, where she flips out on him, like that really, to me, that kind of encapsulates a lot of what this movie's about.
Well, it's interesting too to look at that whole sequence where she sort of takes him down a peg or a few pegs, really, because it's
many pegs have
because
been taken down.
it is kind of funny. This isn't new territory. Artists and such trying to find or strive for authenticity in their work, whether it be painting or movies, whatever it is. I mean, they're always striving for it. They get wrapped up in it so much that they kind of forget to explore that in their own lives with people that actually matter.
Right. Yeah.
They, you know, they just lose sight of that.
And I think in a way that kind of makes this a story of redemption.
Why?
Because
and I like how they kind of tied that into the play that he's doing, the Carver play, with what we talk about when we talk about love, which is the play that he's putting on, and that sort of the first scene that they're working on, and then they go into the previews doing and everything, is where Keaton's character is like, oh, I never knew the guy. I only met him once. I didn't know much about him. And then as the film plays out, he's essentially talking about himself because towards the end of the play, he plays the guy that they're talking about earlier. So he starts to find himself and he doesn't like what he sees, and it sort of plays out the same way as it does in the play.
Right. There's a whole other aspect of this movie that gets into criticism and how critics deal with, in this case, it's a theater critic, but you could easily transpose a movie critic onto that, or although I will say that she not only does she shit on him and what he's doing, but she also shits on movie criticism too. And I don't know if you picked up on that, but she basically says that movies are just garbage compared to theater.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that made me not feel as bad when he tears her a new one.
But I mean, even what he says and what she says, I understand where they're both coming from.
There's truth in both statements, for sure.
Oh, definitely. And the best part is, that there's some truth in there because you can see that it kind of ruffled some film critics. They didn't take too kindly.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah, I've read a couple. Read Scott Tobias. He starts his off for The Dissolve as calling him I forget he calls him a fraud, but he adds some as what Keaton likes to say, labels in front of that. But I did love that his little line about how they always have to compare it to something else, because that is something that I can't stand that critics do. If you're talking about a movie, just talk about a movie. Don't bring other movies into it. Just talk about the one that you saw. That's it.
Yeah, I agree for the most part, although I'm sure that makes me a hypocrite, because I'm sure that in my reviews
I'm sure I've done it too.
I compare things to other things. Well, but you got to think, though, in defense of that, people read reviews to decide if they want to see a movie or not. And the easiest way to say, yes, you should see this, or no, you shouldn't, you say, well, did you like blah, blah, blah? Well, then you'll probably like this. Yeah. It's just the easiest thing to do.
It's just I have a problem with that, and the other thing that I don't like is where they do like the reductive math style, where it's like, oh, it's like this movie mixed with this movie.
I do that too.
No, I don't like
on
that.
occasion.
I don't like that, because there was one recently. I forget who the critic was, and I feel bad because I'm not trying to shit on people, but someone was trying to think of it was for Nightcrawler. They were saying that it was like they were trying to shove Drive into the network.
Well, I've read a lot of people comparing Nightcrawler to Network.
Which I understand the network aspect. I get that. But what Drive? Where the hell are you getting Drive?
I don't get that.
What, because he
either.
drives a car?
I don't get that. Yeah, I don't get that. Maybe based on the marketing material, I could see that. Because even before I saw Nightcrawler, I was thinking Drive. But then when I saw Nightcrawler, I was like, okay, well, this is nothing like Drive.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that.
getting back to Birdman, I will say that I found it to be wildly entertaining. I loved pretty much all the performances in it. I thought it was very funny. I liked the very fast pace of it. I liked being kind of behind the scenes of this production. I thought the scene where he gets locked out of where he gets locked out and his robe gets stuck in the door to be very funny and sad. The end I was a little wishy-washy on because it felt very I don't want to say Hollywood, but that's kind of it all worked out so very nicely, and I had a hard time. I can't really say what happens at the end, but the result of what happens at the end, I thought to myself, there's no way that would be what happens,
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to dance around the end.
I did enjoy, because kind of like what the movie talks about with that search for authenticity, how he ends opening night of the play and how the critic comes to, call him like theater savior,
Right.
or however she words it, and how he's so unbelievable. And it's funny because of what it took for
Right,
her to come
to do that.
for her to come to that conclusion.
And I'm wondering if it didn't end that way, if she would have still given it a positive
No,
review.
she wouldn't have. She wouldn't have. But it is fun. I don't. It is interesting that we have become so obsessed with authenticity and realism when it comes to film, and we're so obsessed with plot holes and all of this.
Oh, we'll get to that.
But-
we'll get to plot holes.
But we don't do it in real life at all. Like, there's plot holes in real life all the time that we can't explain what the hell happens. And people don't get all freaked out about that. But for some reason in film and stuff, everything's got to be perfect. Everything's got to be explained. I just don't understand that. Like, what happened?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I can see that. Where these days, and you mean superhero movies are the perfect example of this.
Well, like
You know.
the one, the latest Dark Knight movie. People are freaking out about plot holes and, timing and all this
How do
stuff.
you have time
Yeah.
to paint that on the wall?
I'm like, dude, number one, you fucking bought into the idea that this rich guy is a fucking superhero. So come on, you already bought into that he has unlimited resources and he never loses and there's villains everywhere. You've already bought into that world. Don't
think
start
there's-
getting pissed off about timing and shit. Come on.
Well, I think it's just maybe varying degrees of disbelief that people can swallow. Like it would be easy for someone to say the Hulk can turn into a giant green monster, but then in that same movie they could criticize, I don't know, the amount of destruction in the city or whatever. Whatever kind of plot holes people were putting out in the Avengers. And I think it is kind of odd because it's the big things people are okay with because they're like, okay, because they chalk it up to being a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Whereas it's the small details that people seem to get hung up on
Sorry.
around stuff like that. And I will admit that sometimes watching movies that have things like that, I'll get hung up on them too. I'll nitpick little details that don't make sense or defy logic.
That's true. It is true.
But that's just, I guess that's just how it is with modern audiences. With filmmaking now, it's been around for quite some time, and there's always going to be a progression with moving forward in the technology of filmmaking and storytelling. And we've gotten to a point now where everything has to be so hyper real that anything that breaks that, you're just like, he can't float. You're telling me this guy can float? But throughout the rest of the whole movie, it's so easy to be like, and that was kind of what I was going back on when I was struggling to say the thing that I had a question about with the very end of this movie. Something happens with his nose, and when I first saw that, I was like, no way it would look like that. No way. But it's like, for the rest of the whole movie prior to that, I was perfectly fine with random ass drummers showing up throughout. He's flying. Buildings are exploding. There, all this other stuff, and I was perfectly fine with that. But when he takes off the bandage, I'm like, no, I don't think it would look like that. But I mean, it didn't detract from the movie at all.
Well,
I will say that I still love the movie, but
the other thing that I kind of saw happening in this film is that a lot of what's going on, it's almost as if he's saying, stop taking everything so seriously. Just stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot going on. This movie has a lot to say, and I think that there's a lot of things you can take from it. I mean, it's a commentary on actors, it's a commentary on criticism, it's a commentary on superhero movies, and I think along with the superhero movies, it's like, it's a superhero movie. Come off it.
Just in its own way. In its own little way.
Yeah, it is. So, final thoughts on Birdman?
Oh, Birdman. That drum score. God.
I'm going to say highly recommend Birdman. This will most certainly go in my top 10. I will give this movie oh boy, I didn't even think about a score. Right now I'll say 8.5 out of 10.
I was going to say, because I forgot how I rated this, I was thinking 8, but apparently I gave this a 9 off the bat.
Okay, well in that case I'll give it a 9 since I seem to like it more than you. So
I'm gonna say like 8, 9, 8, 9, 8.5.
All right, well if you're gonna give it an 8,
whatever.
I'll give it an 8.5.
Whatever.
If you're giving it
whatever,
go fucking see it.
See, that's
All right.
that's the other thing. We have numbers and stuff, but do we take these numbers seriously? No, we don't.
No one takes them seriously. I love the sites that I saw one review on Letterboxd that gave a movie like a 7.25, and I love because I go to IGN for video game news, and I always see their reviews, and it's like a 9.1, and those like seem even more arbitrary to me. 9.1.
That's what I mean.
Not a 9.
That's what I mean. We take all this entirely too seriously. Okay, way too seriously. Chill the fuck out.
It's interesting. I was talking to my girlfriend's brother this weekend, and he's not a big movie guy. He's not as fanatical as we are, or probably those of you listening. And he made a good point, because he asked me about Birdman, and I told him, he's like, what would you score it out of 10? And I said, I don't know, probably an 8.5 or a 9. And he was like, and then I said to him, I don't really like giving number scores, and I find it to be kind of arbitrary, and I'm sure a lot of other critics agree. But what he said was, sometimes I'm at Redbox and I see a movie and I don't know anything about it. I'll just pull up my phone and see the score, see what the critics' consensus is, and just make a snap decision on whether or not I want to get this movie. And for that, I can actually kind of understand why a score might be kind of beneficial, because you're not going to fucking sit there and read a 500-word review on a movie to decide if you want to rent it when you're standing there at Redbox,
Well, that's kind of like what we've talked about this numerous times before. You got to find your person. You got to find your critic that you line up with, because like my number system is different than your number system. Like I put a lot more stock in cinematography than maybe say you put in screenplay or the writing or the plot line.
I will say though,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say though, our numbers are never far off from each other. Rarely far off from each other.
That's true.
I think that you and I have very similar likes and dislikes when it comes to movies. I mean, that's why I've been doing this. That's why it works. That's why it's worked for so long.
That's right. Or at least we think it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there have been times where I thought about trying to get Todd on the show more, because he always seems to have very differing opinions than we do. Because I do think that when you talk about a movie where the people involved have very differing opinions, that it can lead to a more interesting conversation. But, you know, it is what it is. We like a lot of the same shit. What can you say? Let's move on to our next movie. Why Don't You Play in Hell? This is directed by Shion Sono. And I have a synopsis here. A renegade film crew becomes embroiled with a Yakuza clan feud.
Sure.
Yeah, very quick and
It does.
it's a very sparse synopsis.
It does kind of happen.
I feel like this movie has a lot to say too, like the other movies that we're talking about today. And I've seen people. I think I read a couple blurbs on Letterboxd, people comparing this to Holy Motors, and I can definitely see that because this is kind of Sono's love letter to 35 millimeter filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I had a blast with this movie. I had such a good time with it. It was crazy and ridiculous. So ridiculous on every level. And I think it's been quite a while since I've seen a movie about making movies done this good.
Yeah, I would agree. This is just stupid, silly fun.
Intentionally so.
Yes.
I think that it should be mentioned that this is a very gory, violent movie, over the top, ridiculous violent, but it's all done in such a cartoonish way
Yes.
that none of it is to be taken seriously.
There's so much that doesn't make sense in this movie. And
Right. It's just,
and
it's wacky.
it's one of those things that I love it for that fact that they just don't care.
It's so absurd. I think one of my favorite things about this movie is just every single character. It's like Sono, when he was directing them, he was just like, all right, I want you to be as energetic and excited and happy as you possibly can be, even though your life is in danger and you're probably going to die at any second. You got to be at 11 the whole time. And that's just how every character acts. They're always just so happy about what's going on.
And especially for the fuck bombers.
Oh, the fuck bombers, yeah.
Especially the director. He is so invested in every single thing that they're doing. Even though you watching it are like, this is completely pointless. You guys are going nowhere. Like, you're just wasting time here. But they don't see it that way. They're just doing what they love.
And that's
making movies that have
right.
no plot, no structure whatsoever. They're just filming stuff.
But that's filmmaking, you know, that for people that are 100% invested in the art of filmmaking, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get their movie made, even though it might take them a long time. I mean, an entire decade goes by in this movie.
And all they have is like a sizzle reel.
The shot on video, and they have one VHS. Yeah, but they got their shot.
They got it.
They got their shot.
They were all about it.
So I found the movie that I thought that it kind of lagged a bit in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle bits.
Now,
maybe like in the second act, it was just kind of slowed down, and I was just waiting for something to happen.
It's interesting because as I was watching it, it felt to me that the movie finally started and there was only 45 minutes left.
Well, that's the thing. The final act of this movie, when they actually start to make the movie, it's just this. I mean, it's got to be 30 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like a no holds barred bloodbath for the last half hour, and then all of a sudden you're just like, okay, I understand. This is the payoff.
Exactly. I got kind of, like you said, it dragged a little bit in the middle there, mostly when the fuck bombers weren't involved. Like when it went away from them and went into the Yakuza, to me it felt like it dragged a little bit. I missed the enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it finally starts. The movie finally starts, and there's about 45 minutes left, and you're like, okay, this is what I've been waiting to see this entire movie since I first started watching it. This is what I wanted to happen. And then man, does it deliver. And that and it just makes up for all that build up. I'm completely fine
Yeah.
with the hour-long build up where it just seems like the movie was wandering around, not really doing anything. I I was just okay with it after I finally got to see all of it culminate in that
Right.
ridiculous finale.
And it makes everything before it kind of, it justifies everything before it. It makes it all kind of fit together,
It's all worth it.
coalesce once that big finale starts.
And
And boy, is it a finale!
oh my,
It's long and amazing.
there's just so much blood and there's arms flying everywhere and heads.
It's yeah,
And
it's
I there's a lot of things that I love about this movie that are just really nonsensical. I love the excessive use of like screen wipes and the
hmm
slow-mo and where
the
it would
freeze
pull the
frames.
freeze frame pull in, especially at the very beginning where the guy stutters girlfriend and then pauses on his face and zooms in. And
Mm.
the fact that the one clan decides to, you know,
Wear
yeah,
kimonos.
they're like, let's stop
That
dressing like foreigners. We're wearing kimonos. And then there's this
that
whole,
whole sequence, that whole sequence when he's telling them how to change and take off the rings and shave and all that, and he's like, "You go first, and then you."
shave your mustache. I don't like it. It doesn't look good on you.
Oh my god, that
It's
was amazing.
it was a very, very well balanced with its gore and its comedy and
Yeah, and
just, I
I
mean,
thought that
there's a point where a guy gets beheaded out of nowhere, and it's
yeah,
absolutely hilarious.
and you don't see it coming either,
No,
because he's like a major player in this whole thing, and it just, there's no big, build up to it. It just randomly happens, and it's at the hands of a random dude.
and his head goes flying in the air and blood spurting out, but he still pops his hands up and gives like a thumbs up on
Yeah, that's right.
another guy gets a samurai sword stuck in his head, and he keeps going. He's
And
just walking around.
all the while, you have this tune, this like kind of J-poppy toothpaste
Commercial.
commercial stuck in your head, and it's just amazing. I mean, I
Yeah,
had so much fun with this movie.
you, it's ridiculous because a lot of this is just riding off of the fact that everyone desperately wants this little girl from the toothpaste commercial. Now that she's grown up 10 years later, they just want her to be in film.
Yeah,
They just want her to be in a movie.
they all love her. It's, but
And
the
I mean
interesting,
the when the director and everything goes and meets with the other clan and she comes in and sings the song, the look on the leader's face.
hmm the joy that that it brings
He
him.
makes that weird face where he like puffs off his upper lip and like
Uh huh.
folds it over his chin.
I love the. Maybe we should step back a little bit because we read the synopsis, but we didn't really talk about what the hell's even going on in this movie.
No one knows.
So it's essentially about these two warring Yakuza clans, and the one clan decides to hire a film crew to shoot this raid in order to make a movie for the boss's wife when she gets out of prison,
Hmm.
so that she can see her daughter be a famous movie actress.
Correct.
And that's the basic premise of what's happening here. And if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. Because once the chaos starts, it's hilarious. They fight for about 5 minutes and the lights go out and they have to stop fighting. And they're fighting for real in this. I mean, they're killing each other.
It is kind of funny because you do sort of get lulled into the fact that you kind of forget that people are dying.
Yeah.
And like when the one guy gets his hand cut off, it's just finally that realization that, oh my God, this is real.
Yeah. And they're all sword fighting too. The director decides to get rid of the guns, and both sides are perfectly okay with that for some reason. And then
Because
eventually,
everyone wants to see this girl in a movie.
yeah.
They're all on
But I
board.
think, but I think more than that too. They also want to see themselves in a movie.
Yeah.
Like the one the other leader of the Yakuza guy who they filmed 10 years prior, you could tell that he was all about it. So the whole time, even though these Yakuza people are fighting to the death, they're hamming it up for the camera. So it's all completely ridiculous, and that just makes it even more entertaining to watch.
Oh, I'm just remembering now how he would always mug at the camera and smile. Like
Yeah.
as he's going around and cutting people up.
Yeah.
He was
I love
always cognizant of the camera.
I love their buddy with the Bruce Lee outfit and how he was just basically doing a Bruce Lee impersonation the whole time.
And he looks like a Japanese Mads Mikkelsen for some reason.
I could see that. This movie also is kind of playing homage to many other movies. I think that that's where the Holy Motors comparison comes from. It's heavily influenced by Bruce Lee movies and Tarantino movies, and clearly the movies that Sono admires.
Yeah. And they
And
even discuss it a couple of times where, he's giving them direction on how to be samurai. And they
Right,
start yelling out the people they want to be like.
And the fuck bombers are kind of obsessed with the idea of 35 millimeter film, and when they realize that they're going to have an opportunity to shoot on 35 millimeter, they lose it, and they kind of look up to this old guy who's a 35 millimeter projectionist, and their home base is in an old theater, and so it's very, very much made for cinephiles, I think.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. It is
I think
the
it's-
only thing that I do have a problem with. I do feel that it's a bit bloated. That's really the only problem that I have with it. But like I said earlier, the ending, the finale really makes up for a lot.
It makes you forget about the bloat from the previous two acts. Like, I mean, to me, in the end, I love the way that they ended it. One of the other things that I thought was so funny when the film crew first met with the Yakuza and they were trying to figure out how they want to make this movie, the fantasy scene for the director, the scene where they show the other Yakuza gang and they're sitting there and they're drinking, and the guy just comes in and he sets up like the tripod, and they're just like, what is this? That just how all that whole thing unfolded was amazing.
And I also love that it feels as though there's entirely too much blood.
Oh yeah,
There's just way too much blood here. But it's great.
I think again that was going back to the kind of 80s style samurai movies where it was just geysers, like
It's just
blood geysers everywhere.
Oh my God.
I wish they wouldn't, and I think it also plays with the more modern Japanese horror themes where you have like Tokyo Gore Police and movies like that are completely over the top with the CG gore. So it plays around with those movies too, and I think that in a way it's celebrating those movies, but I think it's also kind of criticizing them too.
Yeah, it could be. I could see it both ways.
I think what it boils down to is that it's just Shion Sono having a ball.
Yeah.
He's just having a ball.
He just doesn't give a shit.
And I will say, like, I love this guy's movies. I loved Suicide Club. I loved Cold Fish. I still want to call it Suicide Circle, because remember when we saw it, they didn't even call it Suicide Club. It was called Suicide Circle.
I still call it Suicide Circle.
So yeah, so do I.
It's
I've been training myself to call it Suicide Club.
I won't. I'm still holding out.
I was not a huge fan of Noriko's Dinner Table, which was actually the sequel
Yeah.
to Suicide Club.
Yeah,
I found that to be a little too plodding and slow. It was just
Bit bloated. Bit bloated.
that was bloated. Yeah, Cold Fish was maybe a little bit too bloated too. Now that I think about it, but it was still great. But Cold Fish was definitely a lot different than this movie. This movie, I could see shades of Suicide Club in there just because of the over-the-top ridiculous nature of it. And especially with the toothpaste jingle that played a pretty prominent role in the movie.
Oh, God.
So why don't you play in hell? Playing on demand now. absolutely check this one out. This probably will go in my top 10 also.
I think it might sneak into mine.
Yeah,
I don't.
for sure.
I'm just gonna tie like 40 movies
I
for
know
10.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. So what are you going to give? Why don't you play in hell?
I'm gonna give that an 8.
I'm also going to give it an 8. Almost, I would say this is almost a masterpiece for me. So great. Just go see it. Our next movie, our final movie, Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan. I have a synopsis here. A group of explorers use a newly discovered wormhole
Ooh.
to surpass the limitations on human space travel and conquer an interstellar endeavor. Remember that commercial with the guy that I can't remember what the commercial was for. It was like Rackspace or something, where he was coming up with new ways to deliver content. He's like wormholes. Do you remember that?
What? What are you talking about?
Oh, it was an old commercial.
I think I do know
This-
what you're talking about now.
Yeah, because you and I used to always say it. We used to always go wormholes. This stars Matthew McConaughey, Mackenzie Foy, John Lithgow's in there, Ellen Burstyn's in there, Anne Hathaway. Who am I forgetting?
Michael Caine. You see
Michael Caine, Wes Bentley, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
So another movie that will undoubtedly spark a lot of conversation.
Oh yeah.
What did you think of Interstellar, Kevin?
Bloated. Bloated, man. This.
That's the title of this week's show.
Oh,
Bloated.
Jesus.
Every
This-
time I hear bloated, I think of John Waters doing one of his bits where he's talking about somebody in Baltimore who he overheard walking down the street saying, "I'm bloated."
But really, I mean, that is obviously the number one problem I have with this movie. There's entirely too much that is just drawn out for entirely too long. Where it's, they're trying. I understand that he's building it up and he's trying to make it a tense sequence, but it just goes on for too long.
This is an epic movie, Kevin. There's a lot going on in this movie.
But-
He has a lot to say to us about humanity.
But not that much to say.
There's so much to say about humanity, okay? We have the future, we have wormholes, we have paradoxes, we have relativity.
black holes.
There's so much.
Singularities. Whew. Oh boy. Now, one of the biggest problems that I had outside of the bloated runtime and just the pacing of this entire movie is a lot of the dialogue at the beginning of this, pretty much like halfway through, is what the hell is it? What is it? What's going on here? Why are things being spelled out to me? And just the number of times that they would explain something and then someone would have to add that little bit of like explanation just to like clear everything up. Where he's like, "Oh, you bringing me back from the dead?" Yeah, Lazarus Project.
It's
like, come
Oh
on.
my god. That was the one line that really sticks out to me.
And you know what the problem is? Is they did it in the beginning of the film. They explained Lazarus to us like
Yeah,
we didn't know.
Lazarus.
It's like, they had to point it out there, and it's like, no, I know what Lazarus is, but okay, I understand some people might not, so okay. But then to
Well-
do it again later at the end, like, oh, maybe I did forget what Lazarus is all about because, you've been kind of fucking kicking the can around for the last hour and a half. So maybe I did forget. But thanks for clearing it up for me.
Well, that's kind of the thing about this movie, right? They explain
So much.
everything. Everything is spelled out and explained except the stuff that can't be explained.
Well, that's the funny thing that about this movie is over explanation in the beginning. I mean, just rampant throughout the entire film, towards the beginning. But then in the final third, they just throw it all out the window and they explain nothing.
And this is definitely going to be stuff that we get into spoilers, but for me, I didn't have a problem with the dialogue per se. I mean, it didn't bother me. I mean, with Nolan movies, a lot of things are explained like that. I mean, that's
Yeah,
kind of how a lot of his movies are.
and I don't know because I kind of want to go back and watch his other films, but I just don't remember him being this.
That like that on the nose with it.
Yeah, because it's like
That's
it's really on the nose a lot.
it. Well, there's certain things about this that are way too on the nose. Specifically, like with Matt Damon's character, his name's Man. Like to me, that's so on the nose. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I didn't have a problem with the dialogue or anything like that. For me, I started having real problems with the movie in that final third.
Well, to me,
That's when I started having like just serious issues with it. But
I mean, for the most part, a lot of the on the nose stuff in the beginning made me roll my eyes, maybe, a frustrated sigh here or there. But I was okay with it because they're little bits here and there. And I can understand him dumbing it down a little bit for like a wider audience. I can understand that. It's insulting, but whatever. But that whole the Anne Hathaway where she's talking about love,
yeah, and yeah.
that that's just
Well,
come on.
that played turned out to be one of the, kind of the central themes of the movie, right? That because he not only does she go through that whole explanation, but he comes back to it, and that turns out to be one of the
Which
defining moments in the movie.
again, that's fine. That's okay. But if that's what your entire movie is going to be hinging on, let's make sure that that is written well.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
let's not that be the most laughable part chunk of dialogue in your entire movie.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
let's
No,
really let's focus on that one. Let's tighten it up and let's deliver it the way it should be delivered. If a 3-hour movie is going to be hinged on that chunk of dialogue, let's not have it be laughable.
I agree. I completely agree with you on there. One thing I will say, visually, this movie is amazing. I was completely blown away by the visuals and the sound too. Although the sound mixing was
Which
a little off
okay.
on it.
So this is something that I'm glad you brought this up because I probably would have forgotten about it. Because I didn't notice a lot of people discussing this before I saw this whole sound mixing. What were you guys experiencing, or what were people
Okay,
experiencing?
well, apparently people that saw this in 70 millimeter at the IMAX had some issues with it. There's several times throughout the movie where the sound effects and music almost drown out the dialogue, where it's difficult to even hear what they're saying. Now that didn't happen. There was only one instance where that happened in my screening. Now I saw it at the IMAX, but it was in digital. Unfortunately, there is no 70 millimeter projectors in any of the theaters around me. So
Yeah.
I did see it in IMAX. It was full frame IMAX, so it was the Big Daddy, but it was still in digital. There was one scene where I noticed that was the sound effects and the music were just a bit too loud, and I could
Okay.
barely hear what they were saying.
Gotcha.
The other thing was there was at least one scene where the sync it got out of sync and the lips did not match the voices. And that was it was a pretty brief moment. It was at the beginning of the movie when they were at the baseball game.
Okay.
And it only happened, it was very brief, but it was enough for me to actually notice and think like, But yeah, I'm assuming that you just saw it in regular.
I just saw it in regular, and knowing that going in, people having like sound mixing qualms with the movie and everything, I was really looking out for it in the beginning, but I didn't really notice anything. That's why I was kind of curious as to what it was.
Yeah, I guess maybe the people that saw it in 70 millimeter had more issues, but I haven't heard everybody complaining about it. Certainly wasn't enough for me to detract from the overall experience or anything like that.
Okay.
So yeah, but I thought that the sound overall was excellent, and the visuals I just thought were at times breathtaking. There was that one scene towards the beginning. I can't even remember exactly what it was. Maybe when they were first launching into space, where it was so loud, and I was just like, "Holy shit, this is incredible!" And there was that scene, and then there's another scene that happens later on in the movie that we may talk about in spoilers, where it's a pretty long scene, but it's a very, very tense scene where there's a lot of shit going on. And I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God. It was just so incredible to me. So visually, I thought it was amazing. It. I think you should see it. If people listening, if you're on the fence about it, I think you should go see it just for the visuals. See it in the theater.
Now, see, for me, that is because I love the visuals as well. I love the different planets that you got to see, the way that they were rendered. I thought were spectacular. When they did like the extreme close-up of Saturn, I thought that looked amazing. I loved the look of the black hole. You know, when they go through the wormhole, all of this stuff I thought looked amazing. Enough so that it does, for me at least, because I'm so much more invested in visuals compared to the narrative, that it kind of made up for the lackluster narrative that was on display here. So I'm like, I didn't like the movie a lot, but there's enough redeeming factors for me that I didn't outright hate it. Because there's a lot of faults with this screenplay.
I agree. Yeah, completely agree. And I think most critics probably will agree with that sentiment also, where it's still worth seeing just for the visuals alone. I think that the story may be a little bit lacking, and there's certainly some major flaws in the plot. But also, I think that Christopher Nolan movies have this maybe unfairly high standard to them, where when we watch Christopher Nolan movies, we look at them completely different than any other director.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, if it's not a masterpiece, then we start picking it apart.
Oh, people love to come down on Nolan.
And I don't know, maybe it's just because he's that good, and he's just, I mean, even directors like Scorsese, you're just like, I feel like anything that Nolan puts out, it's always looked at with a microscope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing it. I mean, I did it with this movie too. And I couldn't help but thinking to myself, if this was any other director, would I be as hard on it as I am when it comes to picking apart the plot? And I can't say that I would be.
I mean, I think, no, I don't think you would be. Well, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe he should be, looked at.
Well, all I know is because I know that there's Nolan haters out there that they go off on his movies. It's not something that I quite understand, because I never thought of Christopher Nolan as one of those like art house auteurs. You know, I don't, and it seems like people like pick him apart for that reason, because they're like trying to show that he's a fraud or something. But I've always seen him as just like a blockbuster, straightforward storyteller that has some nice visuals. I've never seen him as anything bigger than that.
I think a lot of times it has to do with the complexity of his movies.
Well, I will agree that with this film, and to some extent Inception, it seems like he gets sort of stuck in this K-hole of making the plot so intricate that he kind of forgets that he's telling a story, that he's supposed to be telling a story, and he's just trying to like layer it upon layer and layer and layer and layer. Because at a certain point in this movie, I'm just like, all of this is kind of for nothing. Well, when you finally get to like back to the beginning, you're like, so a lot of this was pointless.
Well, yeah, and that's we'll definitely
just
get in that.
Superfluously making it intricate.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I wanted to say before I got off my tangent, like always, is with knowing that there's Nolan haters out there, I wanted to see what they're saying. And I only got snippets of it so far because I watched it today, like 3 hours ago. But one of the things that I love is a lot of discussion about the plot holes of this movie they're like tearing this guy apart, and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, he's not a scientist.
Right.
He's not a scientist, okay? He makes movies. Chill the fuck out.
Well, I don't know if you saw today, Neil deGrasse Tyson voiced his comments about the movie, and it seems like he's saying that this is more scientifically sound than Gravity.
Well, see, and that
was pretty interesting.
This is my problem Gravity, because I think that this is far better than Gravity.
I think this is far better than Gravity.
But and I'm sure a shit ton of people disagree with that. But
No,
here's one of
there's
the biggest
yeah,
problems.
it's better.
One of the biggest discrepancies for these two films. The plot holes that are being discussed in Interstellar are very intricate. We're talking like high level quantum physics stuff going on here. A lot of the plot holes with Gravity were simple things like, hey, are all the satellites on the same like
Right.
altitude in space?
Yeah.
No, they're
Yeah.
not. Oh, okay. I could have asked any scientist that and gotten that answer. You know
Well,
what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well,
there's
plus,
simpler than what's
yeah,
going on here.
there's more theory happening in Interstellar.
And
Like a lot of the things that they explore in this movie are unknowable as it stands now with
and
science.
and another thing, which round of applause for the Nolan brothers on this one, is you use black holes, which no one knows what the hell a black hole, what happens. So guess what? You have free reign. You can do whatever the fuck you want because it's a
Yeah.
black hole.
Well,
You
we're getting a
do
little. We're
whatever.
getting, yeah. Before we get into spoilers, because I want to go back to the black hole thing in spoilers. I want to comment on the performances. I mean, there's a huge number of great people in this movie. I don't know if I mentioned Jessica Chastain and Casey Affleck also.
Yeah, but I
They're
I thought they were all right.
well,
They
they
didn't get much to do though.
right. They were more minor. They had more minor roles than the other people, but I thought everybody was fantastic. I thought McConaughey once again knocked it out of the park, especially during those more emotional scenes, like with the video logs and stuff. I thought that he did a fantastic job as always, and I think everybody else did a solid job also.
I would agree. The other person that stuck out for me, which is someone I don't think I've ever seen in movies before, and that was David Gyasi. Is that how he spells or pronounce his name? I'm not sure. He was the guy who played Romley.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed Romley. I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think he did a good job
I
too.
would say I thought he was the second best out of everyone.
And who's the first? McConaughey?
McConaughey, and then well, I guess you could say Anne Hathaway too,
She was
because
good. Yeah, she was
it's not
great.
really her fault that the lines that she was delivering. I'm sort of
Yeah, it was,
unfairly I'm sort of unfairly putting that against her performance, but it's not really her fault that she's delivering those lines. You know what I mean? She didn't write them.
yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some spoilers for Interstellar. Before we do that, let's go ahead and give our scores for Interstellar.
Interstellar
I'm gonna
scores.
I'm gonna say this is really tough for me because there's so much I thought I loved about this movie, and there's so much that I was just like, didn't really work for me. And I think I think it had moments of greatness, and when there's movies that have moments of greatness, I have a really hard time scoring them. So I'm just gonna throw out a number, and I'll say 7.5.
I'm thinking like a 6.5, 7. Because the other thing that, and I'm sure we'll discuss this, the very end of this movie felt unnecessary for me.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead. We're going to put the spoiler section at the end of the show. So if you have seen Interstellar, stay tuned after the outro and tune in then. All right, let's talk about some predictions.
All right.
Last week,
Okay.
we said Interstellar. You said 86, I said 82, actual 73. Big Hero 6. You said 90, I said 89, actual 91. Didn't get a chance to see that.
I'm interested in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to check it out this weekend or maybe sometime this week.
I'm starting to get excited.
It looks fun. Jezebel, you said 47, I said 56, actual 24. I did see that one this weekend, and it's no good. No good. I like Sarah Snook, the main character. Mark Webber's in it too, and I like him. But other than that, pretty typical ghost story. Next week, we have Dumb and Dumber 2. What are you thinking on this?
Oh my God, I am so happy that this is finally coming out, just so I don't have to see any more of those goddamn trailers.
I gotta say, as dumb as it may be and as dumb as it may look, every time not every time, but the first couple times I saw the trailer made me laugh. And I saw a couple clips and they made me laugh too. So,
Deal. I'm just getting sick and tired of the whole phone, that whole
oh, the phone
phone
gag.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is not funny, and that's kind of like their main sell for the movie, which doesn't seem good. And the
You
fact
know,
that I saw a trailer for Dumb and Dumber 2 before Birdman, like it's everywhere, and I just want it to go away.
what are you thinking on Dumb and Dumber 2?
I'm thinking I 42.
I think it's going to be bad, but I don't know. The only thing I'm afraid of is that it's going to be the exact same jokes
Yeah,
that were in the first one. You know, as a callback, like, hey, remember we did this joke and like the I like it a lot,
yes,
like that.
I think it's gonna be all of that.
I don't want it to be the same jokes. I want it to be
It's gonna be.
some of the same jokes are fine, but just I don't know. I'll say 46. We also have Foxcatcher
Oh yeah.
next week. Probably not going wide, but we'll go ahead and predict it anyway. I will say 86 on Foxcatcher. I'm interested in this one. Very, very interested.
I am as well. You said 86?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say 80, 82.
Also, we have Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas,
Shut the f-
which is funny. I bet I can almost guarantee you. In fact, I can guarantee you that we are getting this one here next weekend, and I can almost guarantee you that we are not getting Foxcatcher.
Hallelujah.
Have you seen the trailer for this?
No. And
You
I'm
should watch it.
Nope.
You should watch the
Uh-uh.
trailer,
Nope.
and you'll just be like, "Oh my god!"
no thank you.
Well, the good news is it gives us an opportunity to. Oh, never mind. I already gave Ryan the movie this week. I was gonna say it gives us a great opportunity to give Ryan some good stuff, but
Darn it. Are we
I gave him Dumb and Dumber. So
nice?
little sneak peek for this week's Ryan Watches movie. Saving Christmas. I'm going to say, or it's you. What do you think?
4.
Okay, I'll say 9. God, that movie looks so bad. Next week in limited release, we have Beyond the Lights. I think that's actually getting a wide release, but I don't really even know anything about it. We have The Almsman, which is the Tommy Lee Jones, Hilary Swank Western. Looks pretty good.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, this is like I forgot about that. I think it was just recently that I said, "Where's Hilary Swank been?" But
There she,
forgot about that one.
there she is.
Rosewater, which is the Jon Stewart one.
Okay.
I'm interested. Miss Meadows, that's the one with Katie Holmes. Looks pretty bad. Bad Turn Worse.
What?
Wolves. I'm not sure what that's about. Wolves, which I did not like.
You're a huge fan of wolves.
The Toy Soldiers, Starry Eyes, which I did like, and Penance.
Yeah.
Next week on what?
That's kind of a lackluster
Yeah.
lineup there.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, if Foxcatcher's playing in your area, I'd check that one out. But I mean, I'll be seeing Dumb and Dumber too, but I don't have very high expectations for it. Next week on demand, we have Always Woodstock, Bad Turn Worse, Miss Meadows, Starry Eyes, and Being Nice.
Okay.
Starry Eyes again. I'd check that one out. Next week on DVD and Blu-ray, we have The Damned, which I don't recommend. It's a horror movie. Drive Hard, which I will be watching tonight to do a Blu-ray review of that one, but it doesn't look very good. Happy Christmas. I'd recommend seeing that, although I don't know if I'd buy it on DVD.
No, I wouldn't.
How to Train Your Dragon 2, which I liked a lot, and I'm sure that one's probably worth picking up because I bet it has all kinds of bonus stuff on it. Jersey Boys, Let's Be Cops.
God.
Don't recommend Let's Be Cops. Mood Indigo, yeah, I recommend that.
I recommend that one.
That's a Draft House release, so you know that the Blu-ray is going to have all kinds of great stuff on it. And Tammy, Tammy.
Oh man, I forgot about Tammy. I forgot.
Most people did.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Most people forgot about that the week it came out.
Oh boy.
Any criterions?
There
Or
is
any others I missed?
there is one criterion, and that is a double, a two filmer.
Uh-oh.
Monte Hellman, two westerns. The Shooting, 1966, and Ride in the Whirlwind, 1966. These actually look pretty good because these were shot for Roger Corman with Jack Nicholson in there.
Oh, okay. So it's the early Nicholson Corman team up.
Yeah, westerns.
I'm still not interested.
I'm not a big fan of westerns, but if it's something that's not your normal style western, I'm interested. And this looks different. I don't know
Could be.
I don't know when I'll see them, but at some point in time, I will be checking them out.
There you go. All right, I think that'll wrap it up for this week. Send us your questions to podcast@filmpulse.net. We'll be sure to answer them on the show. Follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. Be sure to rate us on iTunes. We appreciate that very much. For FilmPulse.net, my name's Adam.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you on Thursday for Ryan Watches a Movie. And be sure to stay tuned for our Interstellar spoiler discussion.
Spoilers.
Too many cooks. Takes a lot to make a stew. When it comes to me and you, and him and her and the baby too. Too many cooks, it's true. The saying goes, it'll spoil the broth. Honey, I think that's not true. Well, maybe too many cooks will spoil the broth, but they'll fill our hearts with so much love.
All right, let's talk some Interstellar spoilers. The problems for me were mainly within the end of the movie and how it all tied together with Matthew McConaughey going into the black hole, and then he's in this like fifth dimension or whatever, and the concept of that. Now visually I thought it looked cool, you know, how it was.
Oh man.
He was in this black hole where he's in her room, and every moment that has ever existed in that room is on display, and he could kind of go to any moment that he wanted in time. I thought that looked cool.
I especially loved when they powered down the Tesseract and you sort of saw that dimension fold in on itself. The way that looked up from the corner and how it sort of engulfed him. I thought that looked fantastic.
So visually I thought it looked awesome, but the way in which he communicates with his daughter, it just seemed ridiculous to me. Like, first of all, okay, so when he goes back, all of a sudden we realize that all of the strange occurrences that happened in the previous 2 hours and 45 minutes, it was all him. We realized that.
Yeah, which I knew from the beginning. I was kind of hoping that wasn't going to be it.
Yeah,
but just
of course you knew that's what it was going to be. But the thing about it is, like, did he forget that he warned himself not to leave using the exact same method?
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the stay thing. Did he forget that he did that before? Because you'd think that he'd come up with another way of being like, "Oh, don't go" or whatever.
Yeah,
that's the first thing. The second thing is how he delivers this data on the black holes to Jessica Chastain through Morse code, through the second hand on a watch.
Hey, that's a Hamilton watch, goddammit. From Lancaster
I don't
County.
care.
Hamilton is
care.
from Lancaster County, buddy.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well,
but
not anymore. Not anymore. They're a Swiss company. They got bought out by Swatch. But I was very excited to see a Hamilton watch. That made me happy.
And I thought about you when I saw that. I was like, oh boy, a watch is playing a big role in this movie. Here we go, Kevin.
Okay. I was all like, yes, a Hamilton. Oh my God.
I mean, how long must it have taken for him to deliver all of that information?
And
so what is she doing? Sitting there for like 2 weeks?
This is the problem that I have with that. So he records it in the second hand of the Hamilton. because he's able to manipulate gravity. But wouldn't he
But
have to
how?
do that constantly? Because he has to be manipulating gravity in order, like once he takes his hand out of the gravitational field that's manipulating the second hand, isn't all that information lost because he is no longer manipulating gravity?
But also, how did he even know which of those, like, because they're like strands. How did he even know which one was the one that would magically manipulate that one specific item in the
Because he's able to see
room?
the strands now, man. That's the only thing that is what I kind of applaud Nolan for is that it's a black hole. He has free reign to do whatever the hell he wants
Yeah, but
because
see,
you can't argue against it essentially.
no, but I can't argue against the super intelligent robots that escorted them throughout the movie either. But at the same time, to me, that stuff, it just didn't fit it because the rest of the movie felt so grounded and logical. And then once you get into the black hole, it's just like, okay, well, everything is out the window. And then not only that, but so he delivers this Morse code message that somehow makes her think, okay, well, now I know what's going on in black holes, so I'm going to fix the entire
Well, see, that's
situation.
the thing that bothers me is
Which-
that what does she do with that information then? Like, how does
She builds a space station.
I know,
Which negates everything that they were trying to do with going through the wormhole and finding a new planet. And I mean, that Edmund planet, that's still there. And apparently they did colonize it or something.
which makes you think that wouldn't they still have, because they never lost contact with that ship that Hathaway was on. So why
yeah.
did they not have communication with that colony? And why?
That's a good question.
and even her getting the information about the wormhole or the black hole and everything, how does that help her bring the space station
right.
up and orbit Saturn and have them survive? Like, how does I don't understand how manipulating gravity allows them to live. Like, it still doesn't give them oxygen and stuff. But again, it's not, Nolan's not a goddamn scientist, okay? So a lot of this stuff is just going to be
Right.
whatever
but,
you want it to be.
right. But he had scientists
The only,
involved in the movie.
to
I
me,
mean, it's not like it's not like him and his brother just winged it when it was coming to
I know, but that's
the
when
science behind the movie.
But of course, there's going to be plot holes because we don't know. If we did know these things, we would have done something with it by now. You know what I mean? Like, the scientists don't know the answers to this, so we're just sort of hypothesizing and theorizing whatever we want it to be. So I'm okay with that. It's just I didn't understand how he kept, like, him manipulating gravity stayed in the watch. That didn't make sense to me because I would imagine he would have, because it ended up being in a box. So wouldn't he have to be manipulating gravity constantly for the information to stay in the second hand?
You would think, yeah.
And then to make matters worse is when it sort of collapses in on itself and he goes through like a wormhole or whatever the hell it is where he gets spit out, how he goes past their ship and he's the one that stuck his hand out to Anne Hathaway. I thought that was a bit much. I didn't need that.
Well, what was
Like,
the point of that?
Yeah, it's like, I get it. He was everything throughout the entire movie.
And I think that I had some issues with some of the other. I didn't find those necessarily to be plot holes per se. I just didn't like it. I didn't like how that played out.
And
I thought it was just slightly ridiculous how it played out. I just didn't, because to me it felt like almost everything else in the movie was pointless. Now there's a lot of people that are interpreting this movie in different ways.
yeah, because he has the whole, love transcends time and space, and which I don't agree with. Okay, I don't agree with that, but it's a nice idea. I'm not going to tear him apart for it. I didn't like the way that he introduced it. I thought that
there's an interesting article on Badass Digest that Devin Faraci wrote about that this is a movie about the end of masculinity, and his reasoning behind it. Some of it I find to be a little loosey goosey,
my God.
But some of it's pretty interesting, and I think that a lot of it fits in, like, with the fact that Matt Damon's character is named Man, and how he basically screws them because of his his selfish ways,
Yeah.
and a lot of it does seem to make sense that this is sort of allegorical for
Yeah, well, it could be
humanity's
allegorical for a number of things.
right.
You could tie it into a lot of stuff. As long as you know how to bullshit, you can tie it into anything. That's my problem when people do this stuff. But
Yeah, but you love interpreting movies though.
I do, yeah. But I'm not also going to say that my way is right and
Well,
everyone else's just
in
doesn't
that
see it.
specific right. In that specific article, I don't think he's flat out saying that his way is right and
No,
everything
yeah,
else is
and-
wrong or
yeah.
anything. He was just kind of proposing an interesting
I don't.
way of looking at it. Now, a lot of what he says is very on the nose, like the rocket ship they go up in represents a penis and stuff like that, which I
Okay,
don't
yeah.
necessarily agree
I
with.
don't.
But
Yeah, if you're gonna psychoanalyze everything, I don't want any part of that.
you should check out the article.
I'm gonna
though,
have
'cause,
to-
there are some really interesting points made.
There's a couple other things. The after where he comes to in the hospital room, everything beyond that didn't need to be in the goddamn movie.
Where he meets his daughter.
That was
and-
that was too much. Cut all of that out. Just end it with him floating in space. Leave it up to our imaginations. My goodness, that was too much for me.
or if they just had him wake up
That
and then
that
cut to black.
yeah, that would
or something.
like that. That would have been fun. It's just
If you wanted to show that he was
because
still alive.
again, it's just this incessant over explanation of everything. It's just come on.
Yep.
I don't like.
When I was thinking about this movie, I realized that Anne Hathaway's character brought almost nothing to the table at all, if you think about it, unless there's something that I am missing. It seems like after they go on their journey, she does nothing to aid them other than she gets Wes Bentley killed, and then she tells him the whole love thing, and that's really her only purpose.
Yeah, well, she did. It seems like towards the beginning of the film that she was the head of the entire Plan B. They sort of made it seem like that, like she was the head of, running the
Yeah.
embryos and everything like that. So I could see, and which again, I haven't read the Badass Digest, but I could see how that plays in, as how she's the one that essentially brings everything back,
Yeah.
but she still didn't because they were able to
That-
do
that
things
was
the
the-
other way.
That was the other thing I wasn't really buying into, was the whole plan A, plan B thing. And when we find out that there really was no plan A, they knew he knew that plan A wasn't going to work 40 years prior to that or whatever, or many years prior. And the fact that he takes Murph under his wing and teaches her everything and has her working on figuring out this equation or whatever that's going to get them up there, doesn't it seem like he would eventually just give up on that ruse?
You would think.
Like, why would you work on something for 40 or have someone work on something for that long when you know that it doesn't work? Wouldn't you, if you're really looking out for humanity, wouldn't you have her do something that's actually going to make a difference or work towards something else?
Well, I don't think he didn't care about humanity.
I mean,
He already knew Plan B was going to start again. He just didn't want people freaking out. But
yeah,
but
that's what he
there was-
says. But I mean, would you? It just seems a little ridiculous that he would do that for that long.
Well, number one for me, the whole thing is ridiculous because, like I said, I don't really agree with anything that's going on here because I just don't understand why we have to keep going. Like, so what? They find another planet, they inhabit that one, they build it up that they can work 8 hours and sit in front of their TVs for another 8 hours and then sleep 8 hours. Oh boy, thank God for humans. Like, what the
Well,
fuck
Kevin.
are you giving to anything? Just you pat yourself on the back. You had a good run. Just go out. Just go out.
Well, Kevin,
Come on.
some people aren't as cynical about humanity as you are.
Come on. I don't understand the point of. I just don't get.
Well, I think it'd be different if you had two kids and were trying to make the world a safe place for them to live. I think it might be a little bit different.
I guess.
It would be. Come
Just-
on. No, you'd be like, well, you know what? We had a good run. Sorry, kids. You're gonna die.
I probably would. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think
mean,
you wouldn't do that.
thinking about my nephews right now, I probably would do that. I'd just be like, we gave it a shot. We probably have like another 10 years. Live it up.
Live it up.
Live it up, man.
Enjoy your corn fritters.
Get that corn.
Oh, God.
I just don't understand this need to further our species.
Well,
what
that
does
goes
the
along-
Species do. What do we
That
do?
goes along with a lot of the themes of this movie, the humanity's insatiable urge to expand and explore, and that's another thing that some of the other themes that the movie plays around with.
Yeah, it does try and capture a lot in here.
Oh yeah,
I just think it would
mean,
it would have been done better if he didn't explain everything at every turn. Because I can't even remember, there was a good number of bits of dialogue where someone would say something and then Matthew McConaughey would like just give you that one word explanation just to simplify everything for you.
it's the same kind of shit they do on those Monster of the Week TV shows on network television where they're in their lab, like Bones, they're in their lab and they say the scientific term, and then you have the other guy who's just like, oh, so he had a broken leg,
Yeah.
the simple layman version, and they're like, yeah, exactly, it was a broken leg.
It's too much of that.
He had particulates in his leg that indicate splintering.
Yeah, there's too much of that, and there's too much of that reciting that damn Dylan Thomas.
Oh yeah.
God, how many times were they going to do that? It's
Yeah.
like 3? Was it 4? I know it was for sure it was 3. At least
There
3.
was at least 3,
Which is
but they did
too
it. They did it out of order sometimes too.
It's too many.
Maybe every time they did it out of order.
It's too many. But I do have to say, the one spoiler, the Matt Damon explosion, that came out
Oh,
of
yeah.
nowhere. And
Yeah, that came out of-
startled the shit out of me.
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me, and that whole sequence I found to be really tense and suspenseful and awesome. That's the thing. I liked a lot of the really space peril things that happened in this movie. The giant tidal wave, and I actually loved that they played around with the idea of relativity. The fact that they go down to a planet and they're there for like what seems like 5 minutes. I think in the movie they were there for like 2 hours or whatever. And they go back up and 23 years have passed. Like, to me, that's nuts. That whole concept, I just love thinking about it because it's so crazy to me.
It is.
And I love that. I mean, that played such a huge role in this movie, and I love that they were playing with those ideas.
It was good stuff. It's just unfortunate that there's so many other flaws in this that really brings it down.
Yeah. And I
It's a
love it.
bummer.
I love it when they go back up to the station and Romley emerges and he just looks so haggard and groggy, and he's like, "It's been 23 years." You're just like, holy shit. And they were like, "Why didn't you put yourself in hypersleep?"
And I think, didn't he say he did for like a stretch
Yeah,
there?
he said he did. Yeah, he said he did for a stretch, but he was worried that they were gone. We didn't talk about the robots either. What did you think of the robots?
I thought they were all right.
I thought they added a nice little bit of levity to it, comedic levity.
But yeah, I guess so. I
didn't
don't know. I
particularly-
wasn't really struck by them as much as I thought I was going to be. Because when I first saw it in the first trailer where they pop up, I was like, "Oh shit! Look at these robots! What are these robots all about?" And then when you finally got to see them in the movie, you're just like, "Oh, they're not that special."
I didn't really like the design of them, honestly.
It seems very inefficient.
Right.
was I-
That's what I said.
Like,
That's what I said. My girlfriend was like, "No, they can do anything. Like, they can roll real fast, and they have little arms and stuff that they can put out." And
they
I
didn't.
was just like, it just seems like they'd walk really oddly. Like, it doesn't seem like
They're very clunky.
they'd build a
They're clunky,
I feel
and
like they'd be
even
falling a lot.
even when they could do the spinning thing, it didn't seem like he went that fast
No.
when he went and picked up Anne Hathaway. I don't know. Just didn't work out for me.
Yeah,
I kind of let down on the robot front.
a little bit.
Bummer.
They were fine. I mean, at least they weren't androids that looked like humans.
Now, was there a part of you that when he went into the black hole that he would get stuck inside of too many cooks?
That would be amazing.
Because there
If they
is
did something like that.
there is a part of me that wanted that to happen.
I also like
That's-
the idea that the wormhole is spherical. I liked that. Just thinking about that.
But again, I didn't like how he did the whole explanation
Oh yeah,
where
how
he's
they-
like explaining it to McConaughey, and it's like,
I mean, how many times have we seen someone describe a wormhole by folding a piece of paper and sticking a pencil through it? Like, I mean, I feel like I've seen that 25 times in my life.
to me, it kind of takes away that these guys are, so intelligent and they've come this far, but yet they still have to explain
And-
these
I mean,
things to
Matt-
each other.
And Matthew McConaughey is like a fucking superstar. You'd think that he would know the basic concept of a wormhole.
You would think. I mean, he has a fleet of drone farming equipment.
But yeah, but the funny thing was, it would just seem like he hopped into that spaceship and knew exactly what to do.
Yeah, like
Even like anytime there was a problem, he knew exactly how to fix it. If they needed to chart a different course, he's just like, all right, well, we'll just fucking whip around this other thing, whip around the black hole, slingshot us right there, whatever. He's making these extremely complex calculations on the fly.
but he doesn't.
You'd think he'd
he
understand.
doesn't know what.
Pencil through a folded piece of paper. Come on.
Oh boy.
Any final thoughts on Interstellar spoilers?
Oh man.
Poor Wes Bentley. I feel like he could have hopped in there. I don't know. Understand why he died.
Yeah. Plus, I don't.
Just hop right in. Hop into the hole. He was standing right there.
Why was he like waiting? Why are you waiting? Get in the ship. Get in the
Yeah.
ship already.
I didn't get that.
Get in a damn ship.
I
I was really
I
bummed
don't
out
know.
when Romley went.
Yeah,
That really bummed me out.
that did bum me out too.
I liked Romley.
I also liked Romley.
Could have done without the Matt Damon shit.
Yeah, that was
That was entirely too drawn out, I thought.
a little bit. Well, I mean, you knew something was wrong from the beginning too,
Yeah.
but
Whatever.
oh well.
It's
Interstellar.
Interstellar. Kind of see it.
Kind of check it out. Kind of worth seeing. I would say if you have an IMAX in your area, go see it. The scenes that they did in IMAX looked amazing. Oh my god, it felt like I was flying through the stars.
I loved everything that they did with the wormhole and the black hole. I just
also
thought
wanted-
that was fantastic.
I also wanted to mention the set design on the ship itself looked amazing. Like their little hypersleep chambers or whatever, how they showed wear. It didn't look all crisp and clean and brand new. I liked that. And all the stuff in Zero G I liked. I liked the idea of spinning the ship in order to get the gravity and stuff. I liked all that. I thought that was really cool. But
I also thought that those sequences were a little drawn out too. Like I get it, you're spinning.
The spinning.
They
yeah.
just kept showing like the outside of the ship spinning. It's like I figured it out.
I think they're trying to make it more tense.
I know
they-
that was one of my other big problems. Was I understand that you're trying to make it tense, but it seems like they just went too far in a
also
number of
felt like-
spots where it's like I get it. Now I'm just getting bored. Like
I don't know if you noticed this, but they kept doing that one same shot of the camera that was fixed on the outside of their craft. When they were in the smaller craft that looked like the jet
Yeah.
sort of. They kept cutting to that same exact shot.
I know.
And I was like, okay.
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, but they cut to that same one like 8 times throughout the movie. And it was almost as if they were redoing it over and over again, like the scene from Too Many Cooks when they kept showing the eagle. Or the hawk, I mean.
I forgot about the
There you have it.
So what's-
Thank you for listening. That's Interstellar in theaters now.